Good morning. For your starter task today, I'd like you to live mark your exam questions. So you need to have a purple pen ready, and as I go through, I would like you to make sure you add comments to your work. The idea is that you will have the correct answers written down so that when we come back to class we can talk about them a little bit further, and obviously when you're revising you have the correct answers in front of you. Just to remind you, this was tricky. Okay, this is one of the hardest scientific parts to the GCSE geography, so well done for giving it a go. If you've used any of the key vocab, I'll be very, very impressed, and hopefully you've done quite well. So the first question here gave you figure 2. It shows a diagram of the atmospheric circulation model. I know you've seen this hundreds and hundreds of times now. This is a nice question because it gives you the model. I do need to warn you that in the exam there is a chance that you would not have the model in front of you. You would be expected to know it. But this is a very nice question because it gives you that model. It says, using figure 1, which of the two following statements are true? Now this person has gone for B and E. They are both absolutely right. So B is correct and E is correct. So they have, for this question, 2 marks. I'm going to talk you through those then. So high pressure is the air of sinking air. So you should know that high pressure is sinking and low pressure is rising. The UK lies on the westerlies wind belt. So if you look at this diagram, okay, you can see these are your westerlies and the UK is up here. Okay, so your westerlies are down here and down here. So the westerlies are always between 30 degrees and 60 degrees. Okay, so that's absolutely right. The other ones were wrong because winds actually blow from high to low pressure. The southeast trade winds are actually in the southern hemisphere, not the northern hemisphere. Surface winds are not named after the direction they're blowing towards, but actually where they're coming from. So if you look at this one, it's called the westerlies because it's coming from the west. This one's called the southeast because it's coming from the southeast. And then the last one, sinking air above the equator forms Hadley cell. We know that's wrong because it's rising air. Okay, so well done. I'm just going to check another one so that we can see. I've got 2 examples here of people's work. This one's a little bit wobbly and bendy, but we can still do it. Okay, so they also got B, but they did not get E. They got this one wrong. So this person's got 1. Okay. Looking at the question number 2. So question number 2 says state 2 effects of the Earth's revolution. So I'm going to highlight that because that's quite key there. Around the sun on pressure and wind. Now it gives you pressure and wind, telling you that you must have a point about pressure and a point about wind. Now this person I can see has done that. Their first point is about wind. Okay. The second point is not quite about pressure, but I know that's what they're hinting at. Okay. So the first thing you should be saying is that we're talking about the Earth's revolution. So because the Earth turns, you end up with the wind changing direction. So this is absolutely right. Now in an exam this would probably get a mark. However, you know that you should be using the word Coriolis force. Okay, so you need to use the word Coriolis force. Okay, is that name of that process. So because the Earth revolves, the wind actually bends. I wouldn't say changes direction, I would say bends, because it actually still goes in the same direction. So this would have gone straight north, but instead it bends. Okay, so I'm going to give this mark, but be very careful, okay, because you would need to say that it bends in this Coriolis force. The second point, let's just see if the other person has done the wind as well. They have written the Earth circulates, so they're not going to get the mark here because they haven't told me what effect it has on the wind. Because remember, it had to be the wind and the pressure. So they need to tell me. So this person needs to tell me how it affects wind. So if this is you, you probably know if you've got yours in front of you, can you please tell me that this causes the wind to bend, okay, to get that mark, okay? And then the second point needs to be about pressure. Okay, now this person has put the sun's intensity is different at different points on the Earth. Okay, now I'm not going to give them a mark here because they haven't mentioned pressure. I know what they were probably trying to say. They were probably trying to say the sun's intensity is greatest at certain places, so you get the rising air and therefore low pressure. However, they haven't said that. So you need to say, okay, because the Earth is revolving around the sun, okay, where you get different levels of pressure, so low and high pressure, depending on where the Earth is hitting the sun, where the sun is hitting the Earth, sorry. A better answer for this one, okay, a better answer for this one would actually be that the first question would be that the winds bend because of Coriolis force. The second answer, the best answer, would be that those winds move from high to low pressure. Okay, so the winds move from high to low pressure would be a better answer for that second one. Okay, so the wind blows from high to low pressure, okay, would be a better answer there. Okay, so the second one here says our daily weather is affected by climate change, so they're not going to get a mark there because they have not talked about pressure and wind belts. Okay, so that's quite key there. Right, so then we look at this question. This is actually the question we did in class. However, I knew it would catch a few of you out because I knew you would just focus on the hot deserts and forget the cold deserts. So it's asking you to explain how the atmospheric circulation determines the location of arid regions, and that bit is important, regions. Okay, so it's asking you, the word arid means dry. It's asking you the dry regions. So you should know that the dry regions are at 30 degrees north, 30 degrees south, 90 degrees south, and 90 degrees north. Okay, so you should know these are your dry regions. Okay, so they're asking you how this model affects their location. Okay, so basically, why do you find the arid regions in these places and not the other places? That's all it's asking you to do. Okay, now in order to do that, you need to tell me why you find deserts here and deserts here. And arid means dry. It is not temperature. So if you said you get them around here because it's hot, you're not going to get the mark, because actually you also get arid regions here and it's freezing. So you're just looking at the air pressure and rainfall. So I'm going to talk you through what I would have expected to see, and then we'll have a go at marking these. So I'd have expected you to say arid regions are found at 30 degrees north, 30 degrees south, 90 degrees south, and 90 degrees north. Okay, to get 1 mark. Tell me actually where they are. Okay, to get another mark, you would then need to start giving me some examples. And so you would probably say that this one is between the Hadley and the Ferrel Cell, for example, the Sahara Desert. Okay. At 90 degrees south, we have Antarctica. So I'd expect to see some examples in there for the second mark. To get a third mark, you need to start saying why. So you need to tell me that they're in those locations because this is where you have high pressure and the air is sinking. And because the air is sinking, there is no evaporation, no condensation, and therefore no rain. Okay? So basically, to get the final marks, you have to say why you get no rain, basically. You need to tell me what's going on with regards to high pressure. So I've made a couple of notes here to show you what I would expect. Okay. I'd expect you to say that the air is sinking at the arid regions, 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south. This creates high pressure, okay, and therefore no rainfall. Also that it's at 90 degrees north and 90 degrees south, which is the polar cell, and the same thing. Okay, so the key words in this answer should be the locations, so 30 degrees north, 30 degrees south, 90 degrees north, 90 degrees south. The names of the cells, so the Hadley, Ferrel and polar cell. The fact that it is high pressure is very important, and the fact that that leads to no rainfall. If you mentioned the intertropical convergence zone, you would still get a mark as well. So if you told me that the intertropical convergence zone is found around this equator but doesn't reach 30 degrees north or 30 degrees south, which is why they don't get any rain, you could also have the mark, but you must have linked it to why there is no rain. So if you didn't mention that there is no rain in these places, you will not get the marks. Okay? What a lot of students will accidentally do is talk about the equator and talk about how you get lots of rain here because it's very, very hot and you've got lots of evaporation, and not actually say why these areas are dry. So pay careful attention to this word in the question, arid regions. So I'm going to look at this example here. Global atmospheric circulation determines the location of arid regions because, hey, first thing I want to say is you do not need, hey, sorry that I'm going to put a cross through this. Oh, the pen's running out. That's not good, is it? Sorry, guys. There we go. Right, so sorry I'm going to put a cross through this. You do not need to introduce a question in geography. Okay, so there's no need to introduce a question in geography. Okay, you can start straight away with due to the equator. Okay, so due to the equator rotating the highest sun intensity, this is because it's hottest there, the air rises, creating low pressure rain. The air spreads out north and south of the equator and sinks. This is high pressure and it's dry and hot. Unfortunately, you get no marks for talking about the equator, the high sun intensity, the low pressure, because actually that's not what the question's about. Okay, you would get 1 mark for saying that you get high pressure where the arid areas are. Okay, but that is unfortunately what all you would get because you haven't focused on telling me where those arid regions are or used any examples. So this person has got 4, okay, out of a possible 8. Okay, I know who this person is, so I will log theirs for them. But what I am going to ask you to do is when you mark yours, please send me a message with how much you got out of 8 so I can log it. And this person, I would say your next steps is to rewrite this question telling me where those arid regions are and why they are there, please. This person here, so the global atmospheric circulation determines the location of arid regions. Again, I'm going to cross through it. I know it's very much an English thing you're trained to do, but you do not need to introduce, you haven't got the space or time. So due to how high pressure, the pressure is sinking, this means the pressure is high, therefore there will be warmer weather. Oh, unfortunately, you can have a mark for high pressure, but because you've done warmer weather, no. Because high pressure does not create warmer weather. High pressure creates dry conditions. Okay, so unfortunately, you would not get any more than 1 out of 4 there. Okay, so what you need to do, if you did this in P chains, okay, if you did this in P chains, you only need 1 P chain really. Your point needs to be that they are areas of high pressure. Your examples need to be, for example, 30 degrees north, 30 degrees south, 9 degrees north, 9 degrees north, 9 degrees south, and then you need to go on and say why. Why are they in those locations? So as you can see, this person's attempted by saying why because it's sinking, which is absolutely brilliant, but unfortunately they then said that this leads to warm weather, which isn't true. It's sinking, which leads to no rain. Okay, and be careful because you have the polar deserts too. So this person, again, I would like them as their target, okay, to rewrite this question focusing on arid regions. Okay, so arid regions, please. So what I would expect to see when you come back to class is basically this sheet covered in purple pen and improved so that you have the actual answers. Okay, so this person got 2 out of 8. Sorry, I forgot to put that on there. Please send me your marks so that I can record them. It may be that I ask you to redo this question at a future date or another one similar so that we can see some progress, guys. The rest of today's lesson is on Show My Homework. So the rest of today's lesson is to do a spelling test, which has been attached, which the results will send straight to me. And then you are going to do the first 2 graphs in your skills pack that I gave you. So you look at the graph, you write down what the name of the graph, how useful the graph is, so what kind of things would you use that graph for, describe it, and then answer the questions that are on the sheet. Okay, so what you're going to end up with at the end of the next kind of 4 or 5 weeks is a table in your book which basically has all the different types of graph which are really useful for GCSE, and in that table it will name each